Take a look at the West standings. And I mean really take a look because they'll change by the next commercial. So take a look where we're at between 4 and 9. Golden State sitting there in that 2 spot. For right now where we are, they would match up with the 7 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. That would be mildly intriguing.
To say the least. So many storylines. I know I'll be there.
Are you kidding me? I mean, I can't be there. I'd have to be here with Sam. But other than that, everything
don't sound so bad
great.
about it.
I'm just saying.
Listen to what he said.
I'll FaceTime.
But that case, that would be a
I
great
have
series to
AT&T.
watch.
I won't have any service.
That would be a fun. That would probably be the.
No, it'd be fantastic. And I think the matchups are kind of what you get excited about. And right now, the way that they're set up, they'd be kind of interesting and a lot of fun, including Minnesota, who's no slouch, got some really good players. Houston's got a ton of pressure on them going into the playoffs. Minnesota kind of a little bit house money.
I think Houston average wins against Minnesota has been like 14, 15
Well,
points.
their average wins against everybody, Sam.
Yeah, but I mean, they played them 4 times and beat them handily all 4 times.
They don't want Oklahoma City, right, after last night.
No, sir.
No. All right, now we want you to be with us until the Golden State game. Welcome into game time. Is that what we're calling this? It is game time, right? All right, game time. Casey Stern, Ron Butler, Sam Mitchell.
Did you take your medication
It's been a
today?
long
You
season.
okay?
No.
I can tell.
Dude, do you know what it's like watching games at the end of the NBA season?
Trust me, you know how it is to coach games at the end of the season or play on them.
Play them.
Because all you're thinking about is, look, I can't get hurt because we're not going to make the playoffs. And what time they picking up my car next week to ship it home? Is he going to be home before my flight?
Get my trip
what
ready.
you think these players doing right now, Casey? They're closing down their place. They're shipping their cars and belongings home. And they're sitting there saying, you know what? You think I can beat my car home? Yeah. That's what they're thinking right now.
Well, look, a lot of them are thinking about getting into the playoffs and getting ready. And let's start here. Health has been a huge factor for a lot of the teams, a big story. Obviously, just a week ago with the Kyrie thing on the East Coast. You worry about on the West Coast with Golden State, their injuries. I want to ask you about that because they haven't really played great, but there's no Steph, and they're kind of playing out the strings. So are you concerned or not concerned right now? We're looking at the Warriors heading in versus the other years that they've walked into the playoffs.
I am concerned for numerous reasons. One, because of the health of Steph Curry. But 2, defensively, they're not as good as they were years prior. And it starts, KD's been exceptionally well on the defensive end of the floor in spurts of the season, but you need to see more. And, I feel like he's going to bounce back from that performance offensively that he had last night. The 2 turnovers down the stretch to close the game, possibly against the Pelicans. But collectively, they have to be on the string, and they need guys available. And if someone would have told you, a year from now that you had to depend on Swaggy P and Javale McGee to be consistent during this marathon of the playoffs for the Golden State Warriors to be back in that position,
you'd be the
what
Wizards
would you say?
of 5 years ago.
Well, hey, if somebody would have told you that the Houston Rockets would have won the division by 7 games,
well, that's true.
Nobody saw that coming. I agree with you, Caron. Look, Steve Kerr is concerned. Yeah. Therefore, everybody else should be concerned because he watches his team. He's with them every day. He's around them. He knows their mentality, and he sees the slippage defensively. And for Steve Kerr, look, how many times this year has he called out his team publicly? Some coaches just don't like to do. But when you go down that road, Caron, you know this, when you start singling your team out publicly, that means you're trying to send a message to these guys that, 1, you're not happy, and 2, things are not all well in Golden State land. Look, do we expect this team to be able to turn it on? Yeah, we do, but again, sometimes you get in that comfort zone to where you're looking at the schedule and you're like, you know what, we're the Warriors that we've done the last 3 seasons. We just have to show up and win. And then all of a sudden there's no Steph Curry. You're not playing as well. You're not making as many threes, and you're not defending. That's the biggest thing. Golden State used to hang their hat on the defensive end because they was 1 or 2 or 3 defensively. When you watch them the last 2 weeks of the season, they have struggled. They haven't stopped anyone, and that's the concern that Steve Kerr has right now.
I want to ask you about this because take us through reality. You mentioned kind of turn on the switch, right? That's what everybody says about Cleveland all these years. And I remember last year down the stretch, they had bad losses here to Atlanta. They blew leads, and then they go into the playoffs. They end up in the finals anyway. Then you got the other people who say, well, Philadelphia, yeah, they win all these games, but they're peaking too soon. So is it you peak too early? You never peak? I mean, does any of this stuff matter? You were on playoff teams that did all sorts of different things. How much do we overrate in the media and with fans how you are playing getting into a postseason before it starts?
Man, listen, they throw numbers out there all the time, analytics, so forth. But you want to be playing your best basketball going into the postseason. That gives you momentum. And it don't necessarily have to result to wins. But when you're clicking on all cylinders. If you're making that extra pass to the corner, guys cutting off the feel of you, and just playing with a nice flow to it offensively. You know exactly what's going on if you're filling gaps, if the rotations is sharp, guys are on the same page on the defensive end, and you're able to shrink the floor just in a matter of seconds. Then the game is going to be coming relatively easy for you in the postseason. But if you don't see that, it's going to be tough to turn it on. It's only a handful of teams that can actually do it, and that's the true contenders. And I would say that Cleveland will probably be one of those teams just because of LeBron and his leadership. And I would have to say Golden State could be that team if they get a Steph back healthy.
Well, it coinciding with the injury, they're 6-9 in the last 15 games. So clearly we know that he's going to be a major factor. When you look at kind of the rest of the West and where it stands, and I say to you, okay, Houston and Golden State, the big question, Sam and Caron, has been, is Houston now at the point where they're the favorites?
I don't want to die for them to miss me. Yes, I see the things that they wishing on me. Hope I got some brothers that outlive me. They gon' tell the story was different.